What can you do for your furrier friends when you're away from home? To help with this, Furbo has released a new 360-degree dog cam. So if you want to stay connected and able to reach out to your dogs anytime, they have done this. I'm James Hertz from MUO, and we're going to talk about the Furbo 360 dog cam and whether it's worth investing in for your peace of mind when you're away from your dogs. Now, if this is your first time setting up a camera in your home, the Furbo 360 is very similar to others in that respect. While you're still going to be plugging it in to power it on, you are going to be downloading the Furbo app as well as setting up an account so you can get access. Now, what differs it from generic security cams during setup is after setup, Furbo actually walks you through a conditioning process for your dogs. So if you're trying to get your dogs familiar with the Furbo 360 and have a positive association, they help you there. Now, not all users will need this kind of help with their dog, so if you are someone new to pet tech, this is just a nice addition to help get you started. Now, beyond actually setting up the Furbo 360 in the app, there are some things you need to keep in mind regarding placement. Now, Furbo does provide some recommendations. First off, there is a recommendation to place the Furbo 360 3 to 4 feet from the ground, and also to put it within 15 feet of your router. Now, things you do need to keep in mind about this are you're going to have to consider overall what dog you're doing this with. Now, I have two Shibas, and in actual practice, they didn't need that much height. In most cases, I did somewhere between 2 and 3 feet from the ground. Also, they're not the type and temperament to go after it simply because there's treats in it. But if you do have a larger dog or you have a more mischievous dog that would go after treats, the bottom of the Furbo 360 does have 3M double-sided tape that will keep the Furbo fixed in place so it doesn't topple over. Also, the bamboo lid at the top of the Furbo 360 does provide a very clean seal, so you're not going to worry about it easily toppling off. Now, another thing you need to keep in mind regarding placement is, since it is a 360-degree pan type of camera, you do want to make sure it's not obstructed so you can get a full view of your surroundings and your dog when using the Furbo 360. So let's talk a little bit about what the camera on the Furbo 360 offers. First off, it does offer full HD at 1080p, and it has a 132-degree wide-angle diagonal lens, and it has a 4x digital zoom. Also, since it is a 360-degree camera, it can pan left and right very easily, so it can use its new automatic dog tracking feature. Now, there is one downside to the camera versus other 360 cameras that I would mention. It does not go up and down vertically, it only pans left and right. This is due to the design of the Furbo, so if you do have a smaller, more circular camera that does 360 degrees, this may be a trade-off you have to consider. So why choose the Furbo 360 over something like a generic security camera? Well, you can definitely follow a subject via motion tracking on a regular security cam or talk via the two-way audio on most of them. The Furbo 360 does offer the treat dispenser as well as the bark alerts as well as the automatic dog tracking. If you're also subscribed to the Furbo Nanny service, you also get those smart AI notifications when your dog is doing different things like chewing or if it's biting or just active overall. So what you need to consider with the Furbo 360 is designed specifically for dogs. In terms of actually tracking, I would usually have issues in the past with motion tracking cams where it would not focus even on a smaller subject, even when it was more active and moving. With the Furbo 360, in most cases, I noticed it followed the dog really well. But you're still going to get those few occasional hiccups where it may stare at a wall or something. But in those cases, it's usually not a major issue and you're not going to see a lot of it. And it's going to correct itself via the next event. So the Furbo 360 does offer a lot in terms of dog-based design. So if you're after something specifically for your pet, consider these attributes. So let's start talking about the Furbo app. Now, with the Furbo app, when you compare it to something like other more generic security cam apps, it's all very visually succinct, so you can really get to what you're after. At the top, you can set up pet profiles. Beneath that is your live view you can click into, and beneath that are your cloud recordings, which you can either scroll through the totality of them, or you can go by category to find exactly what kind of alert you're looking for. Now, Now, another thing I want to mention is about the cloud recordings and ease of use. While I did run into an occasional rare situation where the video couldn't be loaded, in most cases it was very easy to get in there. Now, when looking at these various recordings, the Furbo app will ask what your dog is doing. Now, you can respond with this to help improve the AI recognition of the app, or you can completely opt not to do it. But it's a nice touch when actually reviewing to do so. So let's talk about the Furbo app's live view. Now, like the app itself, everything's really visually distinct, and the UI has a really good iconography with even spacing between them, so you can really go towards the essential function you're after, whether that's tossing a treat, taking a photo or video directly, or talking to your dog in that regard. Now, there are some things I do want to note. Within the live app, if you are panning or you're dealing with automatic tracking, it's a very smooth as well as a quiet process. So whether it was the automatic tracking being used or I was manually controlling the Furbo 360 by tapping either on the left or right directionals or holding it down, I really never had to worry about things like my dog waking up or being alerted by the sound of the Furbo 360. So with this discussion of the Furbo app, let's talk a little bit about the base package versus if you are involved in the Furbo Dog Nanny subscription plan. Now, you are given a 30-day free trial when you do activate your camera, and there is also the option for an extension via a special offer that occurs one time. After that, you're going to have to swap to a different paid plan. But when you have feature gating and things like this, you always have to ask, is it worth it? Now, with the base Furbo 360, you do have that 360-degree pan, as well as barking alerts, as well as that active tracking during live view, as well as the treat dispenser. So a lot of the core is still there. But with the Furbo Dog Nanny, you have things like time-based scheduling, as well as daily dog diaries, as well as those notifications that you get based off specific categorical activities. So a lot of what you're going to need to consider is, does the Furbo Dog Nanny offer enough specific value for your dog's needs? Now, in actual practice with using the trial, what I found is most alerts were really good, but I would occasionally get things like potty alerts, and this was a beta feature, so it wasn't supremely accurate. So what I would suggest for all users of the Furbo 360 Dog Cam is that you do give Furbo Dog Nanny a try and see if it's something you're going to be interested in long term for your dog's specific monitoring needs. Now, I also want to touch on customizing exactly what's getting alerted to you via notifications. Now, while the Furbo Dog Nanny plan offers a variety of different alert types, you're able to disable these if there's ones that you don't find particularly useful. So for instance, if you don't want alerts every time a person is detected, you can disable it. Comparatively, if you get a lot of notifications of one type, you may also wish to disable that notification. In testing, I got a lot of Furbo dog activity alerts because it was more all-encompassing. So if that ever got distracting, I could turn it off as well. Now, when you combine these features with things like the adjustable volume for the Furbo 360, for instance, in that case, I would typically go between 55% and 100% based off the placement of the Furbo 360 within my household, so my dog could clearly hear it from another room. And if you combine that with other things like the barking sensitivity, where it can either be extremely high or more moderate, so you're not picking up things like outside dogs barking, you can really customize it to what you need to be aware of what your dog is doing 24/7. Now, to slide away from the camera and the actual app usage, let's talk about the treat dispenser on the Furbo 360. Now, if you have used something like an automatic food dispenser for your pets in the past, then you probably have a pretty good idea of how this works. Now, Furbo does provide some guidance in terms of the treats that it can toss, and for this, it recommends using dry, firm, round treats for the best actual shooting out of the dispenser. But there are some details you need to keep in mind. Now, with the Furbo 360, it does handle both larger and smaller treats. So if you are dealing with a large size treat setting, you can get somewhere between 0.5 and 0.75 inches, whereas small treats are beneath that. Now, in actual practice, I found it to be really good. Some automatic food dispensers opt for more plastic to actually push the treats through, and this can create crushing situations or overall make a mess inside the actual dispenser. Now, the Furbo 360 uses rubber, so it pushes through very easily, and if you put something like a large treat in there, you're not going to have to worry about it necessarily clogging and smashing in advance of it even going inside of the chute. So, in very rare cases, I would get a clog, but it's something where you could either repeatedly treat toss to get it out, or pull it out with your finger, or just shake the Furbo 360 upside down very briefly. Overall, in terms of delivering treats, as long as you keep in mind the parameters or you check out something like Furbo's recommended treat brands, you're not going to have a problem. Now, with this in mind, let's talk a little bit more about treat dispensing in depth. Now, with the treat dispenser, I found it to be very good at getting my dog's attention. Now, by default, there is a squeaky sound that is played alongside actual treat dispensing noise, but you can also record your own audio for this purpose. Now, when you do adjust the audio settings in the Furbo app as well, you can also turn this up so your dog can clearly hear the treat dispensing from another room. Now, in practical application, if you're worried about things like your dog getting too fat from too many treats, and if you want to supplement something like smaller kibble bites, that completely works as well. So with the Furbo 360, whether you're using the treats for separation anxiety or just feeling closer to your dog while you're away, there's a lot of customization you can take advantage of in here to get your dog appreciative of the treat dispenser. Now let's talk a little bit about night vision with the Furbo 360. Now with the Furbo 360, there is the option for color night vision, but this can only occur in low light settings, so if you do have some lights on in the evening, you can definitely take advantage of this. Now, when choosing between your settings on the Furbo app, there is the option to use purely black and white, or go with color exclusively, or let Furbo determine what's best automatically. Now, I have tried all three settings and really have tailored it towards things like smart home customization, where I have my lights turning on and off at different parts of the day and into the evening, but you're going to be able to take advantage of it really however you need based off where your dog is at in your home. So the question now is, should you purchase the Furbo 360? Now, if you are after a dog cam, the Furbo 360 does offer a lot of features altogether. But what you're going to need to consider is exactly how long you're away from home and exactly how your dog would feel via this. Now, if you're frequently away from home and you want a way to connect and deal with things like separation anxiety, the Furbo 360 offers a variety of tools and facets for that. Now, if you take advantage of the Furbo Dog Nanny, there are also many pet emergency cases that are potentially covered there as well. Another thing I do like about the Furbo 360 compared to other security cams is if you are preparing something like a doggy overnight kit or a travel kit when leaving your dogs with someone else, the Furbo 360 isn't too hard to reconnect when placing it in another person's home. So rather than deal with a struggle of making sure connectivity works and it adapts to another Wi-Fi network, you don't really have that issue with the Furbo 360. So when you do weigh all your needs and exactly what will work best for your dog, I think the Furbo 360 offers a lot of value. I want to thank Furbo for providing the Furbo 360 dog camera. Now, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below and head over to makeuseof.com for our full in-depth written review.